So, Julieta, I'm so delighted to be with you here today. We've been working with Accenture Labs, Box Spring, and we've really enjoyed our interaction so far. So, Julieta Collart is a innovation strategist at Accenture Labs. She applies strategic foresight to uncover opportunities and define preferred strategic paths. So one of the elements I love about Accenture Labs, and particularly the Futures program, is the diversity of skills and thinking and approaches. Basically the outlets that your team bring to the table, right? You are a self-confessed geek who brings human-centered design, strategic foresight, and the science of choice and behavior to the team.
Yeah.
How important, and I'm going to come back to you and your background, because how important is it to have this diversity of thought and skill within the labs?
Yeah, I feel very passionate that diverse perspectives create a better future. And I love the story of Chimamanda Adichie. She's a novelist,
Yes.
and she writes The Danger of a Single Story, where if we see a person or a country through only one story, we risk critical misunderstanding. She's from Africa, and when she moved to the United States, her roommate was surprised that she was fluent in English and that she didn't listen to tribal music. And so when I think about strategic foresight and the labs being an interdisciplinary organization, that's one of the things that I think brings value to Shaping the Future program. Because we have people that have backgrounds in AI and digital experiences and anthropology and are from different levels, different ages, and bring those different perspectives to bring what the world could be as a more robust and whole picture. The strength of a good strategy is in imagining and including all of these different perspectives so that we can intentionally choose a path forward.
But tell me a little bit too, I mean, you've got an architectural background, and our chief of design is just so happy about that because she believes that that is the be-all and end-all of perspective thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about your transition.
Yeah. So my undergrad was in architecture, and I practiced architecture for about 4 years. My husband and I moved to Honduras and started our own firm. And we did all sorts of projects, from small offices to residential to commercial spaces. And the biggest project that we undertook was the cultural center for the city. We were young and we were figuring it out. And I think that that's one of the things that as an architect we have to do, because every project is new. And so when you go to design a hospital, you have to learn everything about hospitals. When you go to design a residence, you have to connect with the person and figure out what are the things that they care about and what are the spaces that are going to be delightful for them. It's a systems profession because you have to think about the materials and the flow of wind and how sun will touch the structure. Do you want to heat some spaces in the winter, or do you want other spaces to remain cool? Then you have to think about the connection of materials at different corners. And you have to put all of these things together in a beautiful way in the end for your customers and for the people that will be exploring that space.
And for you.
And for me, right? And so while I was in that running that firm, we were doing everything from design to construction, which meant that we also did material procurement and hiring of labor. But one of the things that I really started to dig into was behavior. And for one of the projects that we had, it was a fitness store in a mall in Honduras. And at the time, fitness wasn't a trend, wasn't part of the culture. So I was worried that my client was opening a store that was going to fail. So I proposed that instead of having a window and a door as part of the front section of the store, that they would completely remove that and allow people that were walking down the hall to simply peruse into the store. And it was successful because it removed a barrier and it didn't require people to make a commitment to open the door and then have someone ask, how may I help you? And so it started to shift my thinking of design from just space to experience. And then we moved to the US and I found this amazing MBA program in design strategy that used human-centered design and design thinking to look at businesses in a new way and find the overlap of profit, purpose, and planet. And that completely opened the world for me to think of design in even a new way, right? More of a systemic approach.
So this project that we're working with you on, Box Spring and Accenture Labs, as an activist, I mean, I drove my parents crazy from this big. My mother says I came into the world waving a banner, and it was exhausting. What I'm loving about it is how we can, as influencers, leaders, humans, be at this table today where we can help shape a preferred future. And I know that that's something that you and I have had discussions about on a personal level, and it excites you.
Yeah.
Is that something that is born from here? It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like it's something that you've always wanted to have an influence with people.
Yeah. I grew up in Honduras,
Mm-hmm.
and Honduras is a very poor country. There's crime and corruption. And a lot of times I've wondered what needs to change, right? Why are some countries more developed than others? Why are cultures different? What are those underlying elements that in a lot of ways maybe help create those kinds of situations? And in terms of creating a preferred future, I think that when going back to the danger of a single story is if we don't take into consideration the needs of everyone in the world, then we're perhaps not shaping a future that is for all. Mm-hmm. And we're missing needs and opportunities for businesses to provide new services and new value for people that aren't currently being served.
So what are your biggest questions or concerns that Accenture Labs clients and partners ask about the future? You know, what questions, in your opinion, should they be asking today?
I know that for a lot of clients that come to Accenture, the pace of change in technology is overwhelming. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons why I'm so excited about shaping the future is that we're no longer, when we start looking 10, 15, 20 years out, we're no longer pressured by having to react to what's happening in the world. We have an immense opportunity to say, this is the kind of world that we want to create, and then imagine and envision what are the net new business opportunities that would exist in the world that we want to create. Mm-hmm. How can we start influencing those things today so that we get to that world? That's something that requires a lot of creativity, requires a lot of different perspectives, and it requires time, right? To sit down and think about what is the world that we want to live in the future. It looks at your own values as well, and the values of your company and your customers. I was having a conversation with someone that said that her husband had left a job from Tesla to become a full-time driver, right, in the ride-sharing economy. Mm-hmm. And it struck me that he had given up a career where he potentially could have grown within a company to move into a space that allowed him more flexibility, perhaps, maybe even more short-term gains, mm-hmm. right? But that as the world is changing and autonomous vehicles come into the picture, what is going to happen to all of those people that have chosen this new career path, mm-hmm. right? And AI is driving autonomous vehicles, but there are so many opportunities for businesses to leverage the innate potential that people have. And Airbnb is a great example of that, right? It's creating Airbnb experiences where anyone can teach someone else how to do something and get paid for it. Mm-hmm. It's empowering maybe people that are retired to have extra income by renting an extra bedroom. What are other opportunities for businesses to use AI and find those connections where people want flexibility, people have certain needs, and bring those together? I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, me too. I really am. And I know, Paul Dowdry will say I'm cautiously optimistic. And personally, I need to remain that way. Otherwise, we need to remain that
Absolutely.
way. But so my final question with you is, entrepreneurship is another approach you bring with you. Do you feel this will be an important skill for the future?
I think I'm biased, obviously. I am an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur since I was a little girl.
Honduras, you see?
In Honduras,
yes. Of course you are.
One of the first things that I sold was fruit that was growing in my own patio. We had guys that would come to our house mm-hmm. and ask to buy the production, right, from all of the mango trees. We had quite a few, mm-hmm. and my parents let me handle the negotiations, and so that was my first interaction into negotiations, and I loved it.
That's fantastic.
I really loved it.
Well, our company, our mission is to turn 1 billion people into entrepreneurs. Right? And they don't have to be entrepreneurs per se, but they have to really start thinking like that.
Right.
And if the shared economy is going to continue to happen, which it is, if we don't know how to get business for ourselves and package it and manage it and collaborate,
yeah.
it's a big problem. So we see that as the number one. So I'm with you on that.
Absolutely. I would say that for entrepreneurship, the main skill set is creativity.
Yes.
Right? And in looking at different situations and how do you leverage the assets that you have in a new way. So one example that just happened this week, there's a blizzard mm-hmm. going on in Seattle, right?
And here.
And here.
Yes.
But we have a house in Seattle, mm-hmm. and on Monday morning, I get a notice that we need to turn the heat on in the house because otherwise the pipes will burst, right? And I'm scrambling because we don't have anyone to go turn the heat on. I think about everyone that we know, and I'm late to work, and I need to figure it out, right? So I used Lyft. Mm-hmm. I ordered a Lyft to the house. I watched on the phone when the person got to the house, and as soon as they were there, I called them and I said, hey, I'm actually not there, but I need a favor. I need you to go into my house and turn the heat on. And she said, sure, I'll do it. And I said, and I'll tip you greatly, right?
That's brilliant.
And she went in, turned the heat on, and my problem was solved. It's a business opportunity, right, for ride-sharing companies to leverage everyone that is out there for things like that.
That is a great example, actually. It really is. I could have used that so many times. Well, I want to thank you for today. We're really thoroughly enjoying working with you. And
I am too. Absolutely.
I see super things happening. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.